used to be really lonely being on the left.
And I've seen this movement change for the better. To one where I've got a shared language with people, I can find people with shared experiences.
TWT is such a special place where people across the left can come together, can debate and discuss ideas.
It's an inspiration, it's a hope. Thousands of people from different communities.
We are an interconnected world, connected because of our economic, political and social systems. This is an opportunity and a space for us to build a movement of movements.
That's the message. We've all got each other's back. We only achieve political change by doing things together.
I just think the buzz of it is fantastic.
And you know what? It doesn't end there.
We've got a world to save and a world to win. Let's do it.
It used to be really lonely being on the
TWTtv is back, and this is the end of the 2023 festival. I nearly said 2022. I'm that stuck in last year, like, but it's been a whirlwind of 4 days, like. Oh my gosh, honestly, do you know that feeling when you see that video, the end of festival video? It just makes you feel special, like you're a part of something amazing. A part, like, every day being in Liverpool this week, you've woken up, you've seen the socialism sign as you walk past the Blackie, you see the sun rising. And also the sun has been a little bit of a reminder of, like, you know, the climate crisis that we're facing. But then also you go to a room packed full of people in the General Assembly and they want to have a conversation with everyone. And I mean everyone. And they were open to all the conversations about how we challenge the narratives, the voices against us, really, that are trying to tell us that we're wrong, that we're lying, that, you know, this, I don't know, we'll get into that later. But I'm saying right now, just the energy in Liverpool across the festival has been amazing. That video, big up to Simon, who edited that, by the way. He had about, what, 3 hours to get that done? Yeah. Yeah, he did all right still. Big up Simon for that. But yeah, it's definitely given us the vibe, it's definitely given us the energy that we need to go into the world and make a difference, really. So listen, if you're at home watching this right now, thank you so much for tuning in. We know it's probably because you can't make it here tonight, or you maybe been at a part of the festival and you got other commitments right now, but we really appreciate you tuning in, being a part of what we're doing right now. And we know that you want to see what's been going on. And we've changed up how we do the live content this year. There's going to be a lot more recorded content coming over the next couple of weeks that you're going to be able to access from the festival. But also tonight, we're going to give you a flavour of what it's really been like. You know, like when someone does your rice and it's just the boiled rice, and then someone adds in some soy sauce, a little season, maybe some vegetables. That's us right now. We're adding up some flavours, some seasoning to your Tuesday night. You get me?
Nice.
But yeah, Laura, what are we saying tonight? What's happening?
Oh, it's going to be a great show. We're absolutely buzzing to be here and just let you know about the last 4 days. This is the third year now that TWTtv's been running, and I've been part of it for 3 years now too.
You have?
I'm absolutely over the moon to have that legacy. Tonight's going to be a great show. We've got a few guests for you. We've got some great VTs to show you of what we've been doing over the last 4 days. You know, we've had thousands of socialists join us from all across the world to basically come together and rebuild our broken socialism, and it's just been really hopeful and really just a lovely chance for everybody to get together, because, you know, no one's going to come and save us, as we all know, and you guys at home are, you know, the real opposition, as they say. So it's been lovely. With me tonight, I'm Laura Daly. You'll know me from the last 2 years. Hopefully you've been here with us all that time. Socialist think tank founder. It's brilliant to be here as always. But I have two incredible people on the sofa with me today. Famous faces, you'll know who they are. We'll start with the amazing Chantel. Hey Chantel, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I feel like we've all got a bit of an anniversary at the moment. It's 3 years of TWTtv. I feel like this time, 3 years ago, was the first time we were all in the same room together.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And look at this, we're back in the same room 3 years later. It's been It's been a boss 4 days. I can be as scouse as I like because you're all in my yard. We're in Liverpool. We're going to scouse it up. And it's been a gorgeous weekend. Obviously, we've discussed some heavy issues, but it's been full of hope, and it's been lovely to have everyone down. And obviously, I know the climate emergency is huge, but I did have to notice the difference in how Manchester was looking last week when it was the Tory conference and all of the Conservatives were in Manchester. It rained and it was windy and it was grey for the whole 4 days. And then when all the lefties and socialists came to Liverpool, the sun was shining and there was just a vibe for the whole 4 days. So I was like, yeah, little vibe check there, Liverpool pass.
You're done now.
Love that. Yeah, I think I actually have a sore head. I was sitting in the sun today, and it's just weird. It's so weird. Where I hope it sticks around for everybody. Socialism brings hope, and it brings the sun. Dan, the man, how are you doing? How have you coped with the last 4 days?
Do you know what? It's been an interesting one. Obviously, we haven't had the stream every day like we have done previously. This year, I've been heading up the comms operation, so like, retweet, share, TikTok, whatever it is, hit favourite, you know what it is. But yeah, I've spent a lot of my time behind a 40-inch screen, making sure that tweets and Instagram stories are all going out at the same time. And I've seen the festival through, I suppose, your eyes, you guys sitting at home, which has been really nice because it gives a different experience. However, tonight, I'm very, very excited to go to the closing party. If you were at TWT last year and you went to the Sunday night party, oof, daytimers killed it. They killed it so hard. I thought the festival was over on the Sunday, bro. We're halfway through and I'm like, hey, I'm sitting, the wine was much, the music was better, and the vibes were on check. And that's what tonight's going to be like. So I'm looking forward to that after this. But I think the biggest thing this week has definitely been getting to sit down on this couch with you guys, because we're going to get to see all the spiciest, most flavorist. See what I'm doing there? We're going to get to see all the fun bits. And I heard there's some acid later on, right?
Yeah, we're all
some
doing
acid.
later.
We're getting some acid.
Yeah.
There's definitely some acid there, yeah. But if I can just add in a little something. Which one's my camera producer? Where am I looking? 1, 2, or 3? I want a direct line on my eyes. Right here? Number 3? I'm going to make love to you right now. TWT, The World Transformed, started in 2016 in the wake of Jeremy Corbyn's leadership. And since then, it's grown. It's got a bit smaller, but it's gotten better. And then it's grown again. It keeps changing every year. We understand that the political climate right now is crazy. We understand that it's hard to get involved in politics. It's hard to get involved in movement building. It's hard just to try and convince your friends to just be decent people sometimes, because there's so many influences out there that are basically trying to ruin our worlds. And we're trying to transform that. And the way that we do that is solely through the donations of people like you, through the donations of socialists who want to transform the world. We get funding from a few organizations and a few of our partners and delegations, and the reason that they put that money in is so that they can get something out of it as well. The delegations come to the festival, we provide them with an experience. The organizations, we provide them with a platform to be able to talk about the issues in which we care about most, because we share those concerns. But so that we can keep going, so that we can keep things flowing, and I know you heard a lot of it last year, we need you to put a couple of quid down if you can, 1 quid, whatever it is. There's going to be a little thing across the screen coming up in a moment. Type in that link on a browser. If you're watching us on your computer, maybe do it on your phone so you don't lose me on your screen right now. Come on. I have my one moment a year. I'm going to keep it. But no, if you can put some money into everything that we do, this festival means so much to so many people, and I hope it means so much to you. We bring people from across the world, and we're going to keep saying it tonight, so that we can transform the world. So be the real opposition and put your money where your mouth is and donate tonight if you can. Appreciate that.
I feel like that needs a round of applause.
TWT's in my heart.
So we are going to do a little overview of some of the bigger issues that we've discussed, but we're going to have a few guests on today, and we're going to start with a guest who's been here, who's been a friend of TWT for a long time, but you're going to talk to us not only about TWT, but about some of the conference stuff as well. Can we welcome to the couch Mish Rahman Welcome, Mish.
Shall I move that side?
Here we go.
We're squeezing up. Yeah, there we go.
Have a seat, have a seat.
Sitting next to
Your
Keith.
best mate, yeah?
Yeah, man.
We're not allowed to talk about that, by the way. So don't mention it.
Who is it?
I don't know. What? Who's what?
Just our friends.
Some wooden
Who's
guy.
what? I miss you caused a little bit of a wave this week, though.
Have I?
Yeah, man.
Always causing waves?
I don't know. It's when you crashed that scooter into the Mersey, right?
I think the scooter's become a bit of a tradition for me entering Liverpool because it caused a bit of a... Oh, I think last year when I came in, a lot of people thought it was a lot of wholesome fun, so I thought I'd do it again. But this time we had some better production value in terms of we had background music and we had glitter. And
You still film on a potato, though.
Yeah. But yeah.
So it's been amazing to sort of see what you've done over the past, well, year since the last show, since we saw you here. It's been a bit of a roller coaster for you. What have you been up to since last year?
So I think when I came last year, I was still planning to be a parliamentary candidate. That didn't materialise, as many people know. No regrets, because we didn't really expect it to materialise either. And so we weren't as gutted, because I've seen many people say, oh, I'm crestfallen and I'm gutted that I didn't become... But that wasn't the case for us, because the case for us was the local members wanted me to stand. I was convinced to stand by them, and if they wanted me, I was willing to give it a try for them. We knew that there would be other party members that, like myself, were Bernie Grant graduates. None of them had made it through, so we knew that the likelihood of me going through was almost zero. But we had some expectation, and it had to be done, whether to A, try to get in, or B, to make sure and let the party know that we also hold a space, and it's important that we present the representation in terms of our politics as well. So we gave it a try. They blocked me, which was, again, what we thought inevitable. But, I mean, I don't think many people know this, but before I stood, I did speak to people in the party. I said, look, if you are going to block me, just tell me now, I won't stand. Then I know I don't want to keep people's hopes up as well. Or I just don't want to waste time with all our energy, which could be time spent elsewhere. We are living in a crisis of all sorts, and I'd rather focus energy on other bits rather than just standing on a campaign which might not go anywhere. But that information coming back was never, no, we are going to block you, or there was even some encouragement from some side that, yeah, carry on. So obviously we knew that information isn't trusted, and we know that we can't trust that information. Hence we carried on, and we were blocked in the end for how I voted on the NEC, which was, we did expect us to get blocked, but maybe not for that reason, because how somebody votes on the NEC is a matter of governance. It's not such as that it's the opinion of that, and it was based on an issue that actually was of quite debate as well. And it doesn't mean that if you vote in on an executive committee on a governance matter that should define your politics and that should define what your thoughts are. But like I said, there's nothing we can do. Politics isn't just all about electoral chances. We're all playing roles, whether it's on the picket line, whether it's in our workplace, whether it's in Parliament, whether it's on the grassroots. Everybody's playing a part, and my politics is, as you all may know, I'm not afraid to roll my hands up, get dirty on the streets, or in places of governance and leadership where I'm required.
Absolutely. And I think what you did was really, it highlighted the issues for a lot of people, because I think a lot of people, rightly so, thought you should be a shoo-in, and you were the absolute perfect person to represent the people of
I mean, I only stood because the local people, there's never been an ambition to do this or become a public representative or a member of the NEC. I'm here to serve the movement, and if the movement wants me to serve somewhere, that's where I'll serve. And the local people wanted me, so I don't have any ambitions to stand anywhere else. Obviously, under Miss Starmer leadership, I won't stand anywhere else. But yeah, so where the movement wants me, and I'm sure that's the attitude of every socialist, that it's not for us, it's for the wider movement, and we will serve whatever the movement requires us to serve.
If I may add a point, just like Mish, just see, do you know what? As a person of colour, I wouldn't want to stand in the Labour Party at the moment, and I've got a lot of respect for you. I just want to say that, like, you stood there to represent more than just your politics. You represented who you are, and the people that look to you for advice, change, difference. You know what I mean? And I've got a lot of respect for you, because you took some slack. You're taking a bit of a tough time from it all, because it wasn't nice. It wasn't a nice experience having to go through all of that, and we have a lot of respect for you, man, and we love that. We appreciate you doing that work.
Thank you.
So how have the last 4 days been for you?
Oh, I mean, TWT, I mean, you just spoke about how it's important to many people, it's important to me. I look forward to it every year. It's like once the year's TWT is finished, we look forward to when the next TWT is. And it's a space that everybody has to protect. I endorse the message that you sent to viewers to, if they can, put their hands in their pockets to protect this space, because it's a space where it's a space where we all come and we reaffirm our values, we reaffirm our principles, we learn from one another again, we get that energy boost, and then we go back into our communities, and the energy boost that we receive sends us into the winter months, and then we become re-energized from it. We learn from one another, we meet one another, we all come together in one space. It's really, really valuable, and a lot of people, whether they're in the party or whether they're not in the party, whether they're organising strike action, whether they're organising direct action, we all come together, and it's a space which we enjoy, and it's something that we have to protect. It has to be a number one. So yeah, I endorse your message. If anybody can, please put their hands in their pockets, and even if you can't, continue to show solidarity, and whenever TWT ask you to do something, whether it's put your hands in your pocket, do it, whether it's to bring a dozen people to the festival, do it, and whether it's help them or volunteer for them, you must do that as well. So
Fantastic. Right, I think we can end the show there, can't we? That was pretty perfect. Yep, done. So you seem like a really nice guy, Mish, but what's your beef with Suella Braverman?
Go on.
So I was at anti-racist fringe yesterday, meeting fringe, so I spoke about my opinions about the situation that we face in this country right now. In my opinion, we are at the proto-fascist stage in this country, where we're not many stages away for far-right racists to completely take over the whole establishment. At the moment, we do have far-right actors in government and influencing government, and government being influenced by it. And Suella Braverman is an actor that is being influenced and is bringing that influence to the far-right further. I make no apologies for what I say, and I will reaffirm that I do believe that she is on a personal quest for far-right acceptance, and she is the most racist brown person in UK politics. And before that, we had Priti Patel, who is quite tame compared to Suella Braverman. No, she's the next level up. And I hate
just when you thought it was safe to go
back. And I hate to dread what the next evolution step will be in this, and it is a real shame. And I think it's just we learn from history. India was I'm of Bangladeshi heritage. Bangladesh used to be India. Pakistan used to be India before it became independent in the 40s. But if you go back a couple of hundred years, the British Empire came to a country of millions, and a few thousand people invaded the country and took control of it. And that would never have been possible if there weren't people inside the country succumbing to them and doing it. And we've heard many times how these things happen. It's because it doesn't matter what your race is, what your gender is. The racist ideology can develop in anybody, and I think we take too much notice about where people are from and the skin colour. It's actually people's experiences which is most important. Representation is obviously, I mean, there's no bigger champion than me of representation, but it's really important that the people we represent are actually representative of the people that they are meant to represent, rather than just for any reason whatsoever.
And do you think the fact that she is a brown person lends legitimacy to the things she's saying? Does it,
No, I don't think... look, brown people can be racist. Anybody can be racist. Anybody can be bigoted and discriminatory. It's just me as a brown person would expect somebody else that looks like me to understand my vulnerabilities and to protect my vulnerabilities as well. I would not expect somebody that looks like me to shit on me. And unfortunately, I would expect some empathy, I'd expect some sympathy, and I'd expect them to understand the struggles that we face. But instead, unfortunately, she's on some other next level mission.
Being a Tory just transcends all that.
It's not just being a Tory. There are conservatives who have conservative values. The values that she's displaying right now, many conservatives are on edge, are uncomfortable with the way that her and her like are taking her party and this government and this country.
Yeah, the Conservative Party is a racist endeavour. Like, there's no question. So when you sign up to that, you forget anything about your life, really, and you just, like, I think it was the other day, Rory Stewart was saying about, you know, I might have different opinions, but I still vote one way. Don't judge me on my votes. And that's literally how they think. They're like, look, I vote that way because of my party. But deep down, you're just a bunch of racist, like, horrible people. Like, there's a lot of other stuff there, but the Conservative Party is a racist endeavour, and that's what she signed up to.
And the worst thing is that she is now taking it to such a place where even if we get rid of them at the next elections, her ideology and the hate that she's brought will remain, and that is our fight now. Our fight isn't just getting Labour across into the polls and getting rid of, not just getting Labour across, getting rid of the Tories. That's not just our fight. Our fight is whatever remains after the Tories have gone, the shit that's remained, how we clean that up, because that will be our biggest issue. It will not be easy. And it will not be easy when there's a vacuum in leadership against this far-right authoritarianism, because right now there is. Nobody's challenging them. We are the people that are challenging them, and that is going to be our house, because these people are not only wanting to divide us and produce fear amongst our communities, they just want to eradicate our human rights as well. This is not some exaggeration. There's plenty of quotes where you can find how they are affecting and wanting to attack our human rights. And we have to protect them. That's the very basis of a democratic society. Well, we've got to live in a better world right now, because right now the world isn't a great place. It doesn't matter where you are.
Thanks so much, Mish. But the world transformed is a great place, so let's just focus on the hope that is here. Mish, thank you so much. I know you have other places to be. Thank you for coming and joining us on the couch tonight. It's been incredible talking to you again.
Thanks for everything that you all do as well.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mish.
Thank you so much. Woo!
I heard Andrea's... No, Andrea's going to sort it, don't worry. She's on camera too. She's sorting it, yeah? Done, though. Watch out, my camera shots are going to be terrible.
So we're going to bring our next guest on in a moment, but the 2020s have been heavy, haven't they? Obviously, TWT, given the year that we lost to COVID, has been about in every year of the 2020s. And is it me or has everyone got worse? It's like no one wants to see Series 4 at all of the 2020s. And over the past 4 days, TWT have discussed some of those big social issues that we face and that we've just discussed with Mish. And that includes things like the Police Crime Sentencing and Court Act and discussions about how that impacts the GRT community, but also about, you know, the climate catastrophe. Dan's mentioned how hot it is in October. I mean, we're all amazed that we haven't put our heating on, but also the planet's burning and it's a serious issue and we all need to wake up and pay attention. So we've had discussions like a global just transition, and we've had delegations like Green New Deal Rising down, and we have someone from Green New Deal Rising in the studio. It's Meg. Come on, Meg, come join us. Woo!
Thank you for having me, and it's great to see Cardboard Carers here.
It is. Say hey. So, Meg, will you tell us a little bit about what Green New Deal Rising have been doing at TWT?
Yeah, so Green New Deal Rising is an organisation of young people under the age of 35 who are targeting all the political parties trying to get a Green New Deal into Parliament and in force. We've been at TWT, we've done some panels and discussions and workshops with some of our founders, but also like working with people. And then we've also been doing actions round and about the Labour conference, including an internal action disruption that we did on a panel that was sponsored by our lovely Offshore Energies UK, who we ended up disrupting because their CEO was there. And obviously we need to revoke Rosebank. And
who's the CEO?
David Whitehouse.
How can people like let him know that they're not happy with him being at the Labour Party conference and stuff? Is he online and stuff?
I am not sure.
Any videos that we can share?
Yeah, there's definitely, if you go to the Green New Deal Rising social, you can find the video of our disruption. Also, I know that Oily Money is happening next week, so that will be another great opportunity to tell the oil industry and the fossil fuel industry that we do not want them.
Okay, tell us more. Oily Money, where is it happening?
That's happening in London. I'm not involved with that, but
okay.
It's going to be a great time. I'm definitely going to try and get down to some of the protests.
Get down to London. Are there any campaigns that you want us to be aware of in relation to Green New Deal Rising and what you guys are up to at the moment?
Yeah, so we recently have just finished, or like reaching the end of, we've been doing this massive campaign called Labour Be Bold, which has been the last 13 weeks we have been at MPs' offices, specifically Labour MPs' offices, demanding them to be bold in their climate policies, which they are not being, which they haven't been, as we've seen from Keir's lovely speech. We've been doing, we did 121 protests in 78 days, up and down the country. We had one day where we hit up every single member of the shadow cabinet, going to their offices, and some of these have been successful in meeting and getting conversations with these MPs, but most of the time, we've been ignored. So yeah, we've been really putting pressure on Labour to acknowledge us and acknowledge what we as young people want for our future, which is a Green New Deal, which is to state the 5 kind of principles. It's about just transition. It's about good green jobs for all. It's about backing a national nature service. It's about making sure that we make polluters pay and that there is a tax wealth on the rich, and that also, oh my God, what's the last one? Just running through them all. And global, that we have international justice, that we have to acknowledge as a country that we have helped cause this crisis in other countries as well.
Love, love, love. So if there's anyone watching today and anyone watching this video back and they're thinking, yes, I want to get behind that, I want to fight for the environment, for the planet, I want to be part of this movement, how do they join Green New Deal Rising and how do they follow you? Where do they find you?
Yeah, so we're at GND Rising on pretty much all socials. You can also find the website GND Rising. If you type that into Google, you'll find it. We do welcome calls quite regularly. As you've just heard, we've been doing actions up and down the country. We have lots of little local groups, and there's loads of ways for you to get involved if you are interested in all sorts of things. You don't have to be an action taker. We do door knocking, we do canvassing, we do all sorts of different things because we have to work both in the parliamentary system with our Green New Deal champions who we try to help get elected and are going to be focusing on in the next coming run up to the general election, but also we need to put pressure externally on government as well.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you to everyone from Green New Deal Rising. You sound like you've just not stopped. I hope you're sleeping. I'm like yes. self-care. I want to know though, in relation to self-care, because obviously the climate emergency is huge and it can feel really overwhelming, for anyone, but especially young people who are, growing up with this kind of looming over them. What tips would you give people who want to be activists just in relation to, looking after yourself whilst fighting the good fight?
I think it's all about community, really. The reason I'm particularly drawn to Green New Deal Rising as a group is it's so community focused. We have lots of well-being practices, and we always have officers who oversee that in place. But also just it's a really hopeful group as well. We're focused on solutions. So it's really, we go do these actions or we go try and meet these MPs, and it's having a positive effect that we have the ideas and they're affordable, they're popular with the public. We have a solution. It's just that you turning politicians who like talking with and lobbying with the fossil fuel industry they're scared of us. But to get back to like, it is all about community. Like, it's about going to events like TWT's, like night parties. Zara Sultana's pub quiz was great the other day. Just like, you know, it's really about finding the people who share those fears and, you know, talking about it, but also not talking about it and just having some great times together.
Love
Yes.
Thank you so much, Meg.
Thank you for having me. Look after cardboard
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Meg. So some of the other big things that we've been discussing during TWT over the past 4 days is the essentially the racist lurch that the country has taken and that society has taken, but especially racism aimed at migrants and this kind of hate-filled rhetoric. And we've had sessions like the how to respond to immigration raids. We've had sessions that focus on the racialised capitalism, such as the Pan-African session that I was on, little plug there, with Red Pepper magazine. And we've also had sessions like Migration 101 and Anti-Imperialism. We're going to run a little VT that shows you a little bit about those 2 sessions. And any minute now, run the VT.
At the Tory Party conference earlier this week, we had Suella Braverman talking about a hurricane of mass migration that the UK is expecting. And we have Keir Starmer also talking about how he's going to, you know, bring order back to the borders and how he's going to facilitate deportations, essentially, by, you know, coming up with return plans with EU countries. So from 2 of our leading political parties, we're not seeing a lot of compassion or humanity in that element. But I think in the midst of that kind of hate speech and lots of inflammatory language, it's kind of hard, it's easy to lose sight of what's actually going on, what people are actually talking about. So hopefully this panel will shed some light on that. We're going to talk a bit about the policy landscape, what's happening actually on the ground, and how we can collectively resist. So I'm very happy to be here with 3 great panellists. We have Nadia Whittam, who is the Labour MP for Nottingham East and a member of the Socialist Campaign Group. Anna Oppenheim, who is a socialist activist and co-founder of the Labour Campaign for Free Movement, and Ravichan Rahel Mathia, who is the Communications Director for the JCWI, the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants.
The Tories are introducing measure after measure to make life for migrants in this country a living hell. And I thought it would be useful to talk about the different immigration policies that we have, recent legislation and anti-refugee bills, because I know it's hard to keep track of what latest cruel thing the government is introducing. So firstly, we've got the Immigration Act of 2020. This is the act that ended freedom of movement with Europe, closed doors to our European neighbours, including, of course, millions of key workers. And for EU citizens who were already here, it risked them losing their rights if they failed to obtain what's called settled status. And secondly, during the pandemic, that's when we began to see this concocted panic about small boats. And it was in response to that that Priti Patel introduced the Nationality and Borders Act. So this was the 2-tier asylum system that meant that the rights of refugees that were granted depends on the way that you arrived.
And I think these policies have had a big effect on people like us, not just in this room, but across the country. I think we have seen through our activism and our campaigning work that there's been a swelling of people coming out to support people who move. We saw in Scotland an immigration raid that was stopped. We saw in London as well, immigration raids have been stopped. I don't know if anyone in here watches Top Boy, but even Top Boy showed, we've got one of them, showed, you know, a scene where an immigration raid was stopped. This is something that is happening in our communities. People are coming together, people are realising that people who move are like us, and they are standing up for them and coming out and putting their lives on the line. Not only is that happening, but the Rwanda plan, to be honest, has been stopped through people power. I mean, there were flights that were ready to take off. I remember the day, many of us will remember the day they were ready to go. And through lawyers, through people going to get down to the airports and stop those planes, we were able to stop that.
I'd echo all of that. I mean, obviously, as a Labour MP, I think that the Labour Party and Progressives in Parliament have an important role in countering far-right rhetoric and policies of government. I know that there is this kind of temptation to change the topic, to just treat it as a Tory distraction and focus on the bread and butter issues. But for migrants and asylum seekers, this is a bread and butter issue. It's more than a bread and butter issue. It's often a life or death issue. So I think people with a public platform have a duty to speak out, not to let this racist scapegoating go unchallenged, not to let it be normalised. And as we've said repeatedly during this discussion, to appeal to people's class interests, to people's, to everyone's living conditions, to everyone's rights, to everyone's humanity, and to say that actually attacks on migrants hurt everybody. The left can't win if we let the right convince people that migrants are to blame for low wages, when actually that's bosses, austerity, and anti-union laws. We can't win without challenging the myth that migrants are to blame for NHS queues or expensive housing, lack of housing, shortage of school places, because the cause of that is Tory underfunding. The rich and powerful have good reason to turn working class people against each other. There's a phrase which I think just sums it up perfectly. Blaming migrants just lets your boss off the hook. And I'd add to that.
At the Tory Party conference earlier this week, we had Suella Braverman talking about a hurricane of mass migration that the UK is expecting.
Like across the world, again, like some people, they've been traveling or whatever else, and they've come over to TWT to help out and support, and I've been doing a lot of that work. So being able to sit here and watch this is amazing. I imagine for yourself sitting at home, if you've not been able to make it to Liverpool, then it must be pretty cool to be able to see a few clips of this. I promise you a lot more of this content will be coming up on YouTube over the next few weeks, even more than last year. Like last year was a hard effort, but we did it. And please remember that it is all volunteers. So like, I think, see, if I go like that, right, bang. No, it's down. You told me it was going to be up there. Now I look like an idiot. Okay? I'm not going to blame the person who told me that. But down there, right, hit the link. I mean, type in the link in your phone right now while you're watching this, or the other device to what you're watching this on, and help us out, man. Keep it going, keep it alive, and donate to the thing. Now, I'm just all over the place, a bit like when I'm on acid.
Nice segue.
Hey! I lost my moment there, but yeah, no, see, I was quite excited because we have a whole session about like acid and football and enjoying yourself, and I think it's, from what I understood initially, it was about like everyone enjoys acid and everyone enjoys football, and we're going to talk about enjoying life. And I was like, yeah, this is cool, right?
I don't think that's what it's about.
No, you're right.
Do people not take acid and play football?
I thought, no, see, that was the other thing. But actually, what happened was we have an event for the last 3 years now called Acid Football. And it's actually, run the VT.
So this is Acid Football here at TWT. Let's find out what it's all about. Is football political? Can we separate football from politics? So what is Acid Football?
Basically, we've been running it for the last 3 years, me, Tom and Juliet. And it sort of comes out of, the inspiration was from Mark Fisher's book that he never finished called Acid Communism. And he was really into consciousness raising, this idea that perhaps the degree zero politics is when you get together and discuss your experiences, your problems, etc. And when you discuss them, you basically realise you've got shared problems. Those shared problems must be structural. It can't be like because you're of a personal failing, it must be structural basically. Therefore you can do something about it. And then me and Tom were talking and thought, oh yeah, we should do something like that for football, because like football's a big part of people's experience, etc. So that basically we just, people sit around, talk football for a bit and then play a bit of football.
Do you think you can separate football and politics? Do you think they're inseparable?
I think that's part of what we're trying to wrestle with a bit here. And I think a lot of people who are sort of avowedly on the left find it very difficult. And I think sometimes we try to occlude the contradictions, and a big part of what we're trying to do with this project is actually bring those contradictions out into the open.
I'm just really interested in football as a vehicle of communicating with people, and I speak from a point of view of I have the disease myself, that it has far more importance than it should have in our lives, and I see that as it has so many links to life, and something that I kind of feel like is under-resourced as a way of tapping in and crossing boundaries.
I'm a Manchester City fan, but then also a socialist. So I have a kind of schizophrenic relationship to the sport, where I don't really think about certain things when I enjoy it, and then don't really think about football when I think about politics.
So they don't relate, they're not... Like, because I'm a Hibs fan, so I guess they do relate for me. But I guess that's because the club I support has good politics,
Yeah, no, I mean, they relate in the sense that, I really like certain people in our fan base who are openly gay, and people like David Mooney and Canal Street Blues and things like that. But then in terms of the ownership and things like that, for me to enjoy it, I certainly have to suspend a kind of criticism of that in a way that I probably wouldn't do in any other part of my life.
It's difficult, isn't it, right? Sponsorship and how you relate to all of that while still being a football fan is difficult.
Yeah, I know growing up there's far too many men that I know that spend far too much time getting angry at football.
But that's quite important, right? I think, I shout more at the football than I do anywhere else, and that's probably quite healthy. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, no, I'm interested in that, how healthy it is. Yeah, and how people perceive that, and where that boundary lies.
Exactly. Yeah.
We sort of jokingly said in the one we were planning this, well, it's just gonna be an hour of Maoist self-criticism for Newcastle fans. We haven't gone down that route in the end, but I think getting people to sort of explore their relationship with the game, with their team, and how that intersects with their politics is quite an important part of the project.
So this is Acid Football
going out
here
there
at
to
TWT.
the football,
Let's find out what it's all
Acid
about.
Football event. Cole McCall, who is our Scottish correspondent, reporting live from Liverpool. Check out Scotia News on social media for more of Cole. He's a brilliant guy. He was involved in TWTtv last year. And yeah, he's fantastic. A great guy who was doing the interviews there. But also Keir, Tom, and Juliet, who have been involved in the actual Acid Football project. And I love the whole idea behind it. I got footballized and politicized by football when I actually moved to Liverpool because of the community feel around football here. I remember in London it was always you're often very homophobic, racist, very toxic masculinity really is involved in a lot of the community of football. Whereas when you come up to here in Liverpool, it's about community, it's about family, it's about solidarity. And I think the beauty is that for a lot of, especially, I would say more kind of teams outside of the big cities and across the north of England and elsewhere in Britain, it is about having that solidarity with other people who support your team, but also that unwritten solidarity with people who may support your rival team. Because, if there's something bad that happens to an Evertonian in this city, the Reds will be out there to support them at the same time. And in that same way, vice versa. And right now, that's what we're seeing with the likes of fans supporting food banks. When any team goes to play another team in the Premier League at the moment, there is this little network of food bank volunteers, and they're called Fans Supporting Food Banks. Ian Byrne, Dave Kelly, CW support it as well up here. Really fantastic people who are trying to make sure that football fans are doing something about the hunger crisis that's going on in this country. And think about it, how many football fans are there each weekend going to a game? if each one of them brought a tin of beans to a match, we'd be feeding the local town, we'd be feeding the local cities. A third of food in North Liverpool in 2021, I think, when the football was happening, 2021, when people were allowed to go to football games, a third of the food was coming from fan supporting food banks in North Liverpool food banks. That's the solidarity and that's the power of football fans and the community around football. And I just think it's important to highlight that. It's not just there, though. Like, obviously, we were talking earlier about other areas, like football lads and lasses against fascism.
Yeah, definitely. Football's a powerful vehicle for addressing, you know, a lot of that kind of casual locker room racism that's about. We know that, for instance, the far right in America actually study some of the football supporters groups in the UK to see how they can use it as a vehicle to progress fascist ideologies. And so we need to be really proactive around that as a working class and be looking at football to counter that message. So I really like that kind of little VT on acid football because it shows the potential at a grassroots level.
Yeah, and it's been really nice to see the positive side of football and the positivity it can bring. You know, we've all heard, and up in Sunderland as well, we've heard a lot of uproar from the Football Lads Alliance. They've been up my way a few times to cause trouble, and I think people sort of put the two together, trouble and football. But actually, if we look at the big changes that have happened in society and stuff, even political changes, look at Marcus Rashford and what he managed to do. That's come from football and the fans, and I think anywhere where you can get a lot of people together to support something is somewhere we should be organising. You know, we can make a change because people are, I'd like to believe people are naturally good and want to help, and I think this acid football is a lovely way of showing the positive side of things and what you can do.
Most definitely, yeah, 100%. Talking of good people, though, there's a really, really, really good person, a really nice person, a lovely person, a great person, and someone who is doing a lot of work. Not you. I'm not talking about you. No, I'm not talking about. That's why you're looking around. No, I am. I am talking about Paul Fleming, the General Secretary of Equity UK, the union. How do I say it? Is it performers? Because I got this wrong earlier, Paul. It's lovely to see you. Paul, get a round of applause for Paul, everybody. Yeah! It's fantastic to have you. I see you with your mate here. Oh, no, Keith, we're not meant to talk about it. We can touch it, but we can't talk about it.
No,
right?
we just don't look directly at it.
See, but no. Paul, yeah, no, Equity, the union for...
the performing arts and entertainment industries.
There we go. Get it correct, Dan. Come on. It's fantastic to have you back here. I think a year ago, we had a bit of a bromance. Since then, you know, the WhatsApps have continued. Oh, wait, this isn't Love Island.
No, unfortunately,
right,
that's next week.
Love Island's next week. No, but it's been amazing to see like everything that's gone on with yourself. There's been a lot of activity over the summer. There's also been a lot of not split, that's the wrong word, but there's been a lot of like side groups going on within Equity in terms of the campaigns you've been involved in, fighting the far right, taking on the environmental issues that are out there. The Green Rider. Quickly tell us about the Green Rider, because that is like that. It came out, I didn't read it, and then in the morning and that night, it's like on the news. You're everywhere. It's just, it was crazy, and suddenly like people are really paying attention to what's going on there. Please tell us more about the Green Rider.
Yes, the Green Rider is a funny thing because what we're trying to do is collectivise people's individual power, right? With a lot of our members, they do have the ability to, through a rider, say, I want to have my private taxi to the airport. I want to have, you know, particular colour of M&Ms in my dressing room. I get it. Well, actually, let's turn that into some form of climate good. Right. And let's say that actually what we want in those is we want them to be using that in a way that affects the green credentials of a production, which isn't just about like individual and personal demands, about not asking for that taxi, not asking for whatever. It's also asking, where is this production funded from? Like, where is this money? I'm not prepared to work in a situation where I'm contributing to the climate crisis. And we have the sort of two elements to it, I suppose. First of which is our members showing how trade unions can industrialise the issue of the climate crisis. Trade unions have influence in loads of places, but they've only got power through their industrial action, through their industrial agreements. And a lot of trade unions go, well, how on earth do we do that? Well, this is our ability to affect that in a small way at the start in our industry. But then the second bit is we get an ability to talk about trade unions being engaged in radical climate action on a platform more generally. And one of the great gifts that we can give to the movement, I hope, is to give a platform for every working person to look at the issues our members face and the way in which they tackle them and be like, yeah, I can do that in my workplace too. So, yeah.
And how's it going so far? Like, has there been any kind of kickback? Has there been any changes that have come across out of it?
So far, I mean, I forget exactly what the figure is, but I think it's about a dozen productions have now kind of signed up to artists who've put Green Rider deals in. They're different deals for different productions. But, I mean, we're very hopeful. I mean, we broadly work on 3-year cycles of the agreements. We're about to go into a huge set of negotiations next year for TV and film. But I think for the 3 years after that, we would hope that the Green Rider impact would mean that we're able to make bigger, stronger demands of the whole collective agreement system. And yeah, I mean, we're an incredibly polluting industry, broadly unnecessarily. I mean, that's not true of manufacturing. The issues are quite deep and intractable in manufacturing and in air travel and so on. I mean, our industries don't, you know, there's no good reason why they need to be as polluting as they are.
Right.
That's fantastic. So you got elected in, am I right in thinking 2020?
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest time for the performing arts.
No.
Or indeed the
not
world.
ideal. But having said that, though, since then, am I right in saying that your membership, since you took leadership, has absolutely skyrocketed?
I mean, I think that's slightly over-egging the pudding.
You did that, bro.
Well, you know.
You did that.
I mean, to be fair, when I took over, it was plummeting. So it was not the greatest first 12 months, it has to be said. But as of last month, our membership in a number of regions is higher than it's been in our 90-year history. So in Scotland, in Northern Ireland, in the north of England, in east and southeast England, it's higher than it's ever been. In most other areas, it's pretty close to it. We are on course to surpass our largest ever size next year.
I don't think I over-egged any pudding there, Paul.
So,
I think.
Well, yeah. But it is in a context where COVID hit our members and our industry so hard. 40% of our 50,000 members didn't get a single penny from furlough or the self-employed income support scheme. 90% of black women were saying they were going to leave the industry in November 2020. Like, that is an absolute workforce crisis. And we've managed to just about turn it round to keep people in and keep people fighting. And it is a big lesson about, like, why do people join trade unions? Like, they do, yeah, join them for the vibes, but actually they do also join them to simply deliver improved terms and conditions at work. And, you know, maximising that as a political education opportunity is quite important.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we're delivering industrially for people, which is the critical bit, I think.
And your manifesto, as it were, is quite full of bold policies. What you were elected on was quite a bold platform.
Yeah, I regret that now.
Well, that was my question.
I've settled into comfortable bureaucracy, so, you know, I'm playing golf at 3 p.m. every afternoon, I'm afraid.
You're playing golf?
Yeah, no.
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 So there's talk, and there was always going to be talk. Obviously, everybody watching this will know what's happening in America with SAG-AFTRA and even the Writers Guild of America. There's talk that work will then be relocated to England or the UK, and that equity members will be in a position where they might need to take on that work. Obviously, most trade unionists would see that as scab labour. I'm one of your new North East members. Will I be on a picket line, or will I be expected to work?
Well, I'm going to give you a very long-winded and boring bureaucratic answer to this.
I can't
wait.
Mind.
But so, like, I mean, and in fact, I've just been on a TWT panel this evening talking about exactly this. When we talk about anti-trade union legislation, let's just talk about how SAG-AFTRA took union action in the United States. They balloted their 150,000 members, irrespective of whether they were working or not. Just under 50% of them voted in that ballot, gave them a 90% approval rate to go on strike if they wanted to. They gave them a mandate. And then the negotiations broke down. They decided at noon to hold a press conference, tell the world that their board, their executive committee, had voted in favour of strike action, and at midnight they're on strike. Every agreement, and they're on strike indefinitely. You compare that to the British Industrial Relations Framework, what we would have to do to go on strike, including taking secondary action in a direct way. We would have to ballot every single individual production based on the data and the personnel details that the bosses give us. We would have to achieve a 50% turnout in those ballots, either on an aggregate or on an individual production basis. Bearing in mind, most of our members, as you all know, are engaged for 1 day or 2 days here or there. Like, you're working on a film, you're not working for a week even, you're working for 2 or 3 days. And then once you've got through all of those hurdles, because every hurdle they set, the trade union movement fucking beats. Oh dear, has it gone 9? Last time I was here, I couldn't swear and I had to raise money all the time. But if you surpass that hurdle, you've got to do it again in 6 months' time on a new set of productions. And it is illegal, and it's been illegal since 1980 to take any form of solidarity action. And the pain of taking that solidarity action is that the union's funds are sequestered. I'm personally criminally liable, and essentially the union is shut down. That is how draconian it is. And you compare, like, this isn't some sort of like Marxist fantasy. This is the state of California in the United States that has this incredibly liberal set of industrial relations legislation. Notwithstanding that, what is going to happen if work starts to be relocated here? And these are the facts. The vast majority of Americans, the vast majority of SAG-AFTRA members work here on our agreements. They can't go on strike. They don't have a mandate to go on strike. It's a different jurisdiction. But SAG-AFTRA members can only work on our agreements in the event that SAG-AFTRA approves that that's the case. Now, our agreements are as strong as SAG-AFTRA agreements. They're very different, but they are as strong. 95% of British TV and film is made on a union collective agreement. Barbie, Star Wars, all ours, not American ones, I might add. But what will happen is the American union, quite rightly, is drying up the amount of approvals they will grant to Americans to work here on our contracts. And that is going to be the long-term effect. And what we have seen are casting decisions being made of productions which are filming both sides of the pond, attempting to cast people back into those jobs. Well, we've stopped that. We've seen jobs being advertised that are not eligible for people with a SAG-AFTRA card. We've stopped that. That's illegal, it's criminal, it's discrimination on the basis of trade union membership, even though it's the American union. And in the event we see wholesale productions moving, we will take out individual disputes against those individual productions. So it's not that you're going to be on a picket line in some sort of solidarity action saying, no, don't come here, scab labour. What we're going to do, if they come here, we will ballot our eligible membership and we will go on strike on those productions. And that is an absolute cast iron guarantee. And I was in Los Angeles for the negotiations in July. I met the American producers. We had some quite productive conversations, but I was as clear then as I am now. There's no way on earth that we are going to be some sort of scabby corner of the universe. It ain't happening.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Amazing. Amazing solidarity. Love it.
Yeah, definitely love that. Tell you what, something else I quite love is like the whole AI vibe. Like, I'm a techie. You guys know from watching this for a long time, I'm a techie. And last year, me and Paul had a bit of a conversation about, very small conversation because it was early days. And since we last spoke, like, I was laughing a lot on Friday night. A lot. Now, Paul knows why, because I've spoken to you about this, but there was that, well, some people thought it was real, but obviously it came out that it was an AI deep fake of Keir Starmer giving his true opinions, well, alleged true opinions, on lefties, right? Now, first of all, I just want to get your opinion on that specific situation there, because I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was very plausible. So I was not as shocked as some people might have been. But it shows how dangerous this technology can be. But we've also, I have to say, the best panel I have ever been on in my life, not just because of the way it was chaired and the contributors, but also the audience contributions, was the AI is not your comrade talk.
That was a TWT panel where you can donate right now to bring more of that kind of content to your homes. You know you want that in your speakers and you're on your screens. So donate right now, and my people are going to put the button right there. There you go. Hit that thing. Put in the link on your phone. Donate to the thing. Carry on, Paul.
It was absolutely superb.
Donate.
I mean, donate now. It was so good, and it just shows some incredible stories from Kenya and the Content Workers Union there, and how they're dealing with essentially, once again, shit exported from the West, with that absolute horror that people are having to sit through. Terrible scenes of graphic violence that essentially, when you're content moderating stuff, it's not being sent through some computer program, it's being sent to a person in a room in Kenya who is having to watch it again and again and again, multiple times, in multiple factory floors. Horrendous stuff, but also the incredible solidarity action that the CWU's tech branch is taking with them, the way they're supporting them, helping them organise.
Big up you, Tor.
Absolutely amazing, really, really, really great. And I mean, you kind of feel a bit inferior sat on that panel. But it was really amazing compared to 12 months ago how much the AI debate has sort of started to affect everybody. But the bit that was so heartening from my point of view, from the audience and from the panel, was that everybody was agreed AI is a weird science fiction term from the 1960s. Its capabilities are super overplayed by the bosses. The scare tactics, the moral panic that surrounds it is essentially a sales tool. People need to chill out. This is the power loom of 2023. This is another conversation that our comrades, the Luddites, who get too bad a rap, were dealing with in the 1200s. This is about the deceitful use of technology to undermine workers' terms and conditions and create more profit in the pockets of the bosses. So while everybody's going around worrying about deep fakes and worrying about the abuse of this technology and is it all going to take over or am I going to have a robot butler or whatever, like the fact of the matter is it's just another way to put more capital into the hands of the capitalist. How can we make this work just like any other tool, any other form of automation to put money into the pockets of people? And the way that debate was handled was absolutely superb. It was so good.
So on that, on the AI, so I've done like quite a lot of background work, and I've been told now that I can go in and do one day and then they can use my likeness and not pay me a penny ever again, and they can just use that likeness forever. Is that accurate? Is that a thing?
So that is the starting position of the American producers in the SAG-AFTRA negotiation.
Wow.
We take a position, and if any British TV producers are watching, as I'm sure they all are, on this superior content on TWTtv. Like our position is AI is not in our collective agreements, so consequently you can't use it. Just because it's not in our agreements doesn't mean you can use it however you like. So, but we're in a position where we're going into a negotiation about how we regulate it. And look, I mean, SAG-AFTRA's putting forward proposals, which is like, yeah, okay, you can scan somebody, but if you scan them, background artists have never participated in royalty pools or ongoing secondary payments. So what you do is you don't pay people one day, you pay them for 3 months worth of work. And then you license that image for X period of time, and then you get money going back to your pocket. And background artists are some of the most underpaid people in our industry. And actually, yeah, this AI labour-saving tool, this sort of like represents loads of technological abilities for people to work. But there is a way, it's a very obvious way to just put more money into people's pockets. You have blockbuster films that are on the brink of making a profit or not making a profit or being pulled, and the star goes off sick. And actually, if you can AI generate that star through 3 days of production, you're saving about $3.5 million by doing that. That can save a production. What's that saving? That's saving the royalties, the secondary payments of everybody else in that show. So we don't need to be frightened of this thing. We just need to collectively bargain to make sure that that money is going into people's pockets, that it's regulated and stabilised in a normal way. I mean, I can barely turn on my mobile, so it is hilarious that I spend half of my life talking about AI. But it is true, it's just another form of technology. You just got to break it down to that granular level, and people don't need to be so scared of it.
It's crazy, like, I genuinely just love listening to you talk about this stuff. Like, I just love you, bro. Anyway, it's the thing, innit, man? If you saw last year, yeah, we had such a good time, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, we did.
It's such a lovely time. I probably had a couple of drinks and that, so it made it easier. But
it was the acid.
Yeah. No, that was MD. Anyway. Charlie, don't kill me. Anyway, no, I'm joking. Paul, on this point, like, obviously, I was going to direct things in a different direction on the conversation. You've just killed it, and I've gotten in love again, and I'm considering my marriage. And no, I'm joking. But no, the real question I wanted to ask is, like, obviously, see, for people like me who love technology and all of that, you say that, it's another form of technology. I'm really interested to hear, and I know this isn't what I originally said I was going to ask you, but, like, what's your thoughts on future-proofing that? How do you feel? Because the thing is like, they agree to your contract right now, and then they go, oh, we've got this new bit of technology that means that we can enhance their voice, so it's not... And we get into that Black Mirror stage where you sign a contract to say, oh, yeah, you can do all of this, but you don't realize that that means they're going to use a bit of technology you don't know about that duplicates you a second time or a third time, and it just creates a new version of you with a slightly different voice, so it doesn't come on. Is there any plans at the moment to future-proof that? And I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm sure you've got it because you're that guy.
Well, yeah, you're right, and this is the sort of fear or the moral panic that these technology companies want to put into people. But what I'd say is, how is that any different to somebody who's being forced to work through their lunch break? you know, we're going to get rid of overtime and we're going to give you time off in lieu, but, you know, you just do your extra 5 minutes into that lunch break and suddenly your hour-long lunch break becomes half an hour and all of a sudden you're on this slippery slope. The answer is all the time, you just organise. Just organise to deal with it. And the big appeal, and this is my big appeal to the Labour Party at Labour Party conference, and I've spent half my life at TWT, half my life at Labour Party conference the last 4 days, is saying to politicians, if you empower trade unions to bargain, we can deal with this stuff.
Right.
And we are nimble enough to deal with it on a case-by-case, workplace-by-workplace basis. When Peter Cushing was reanimated in Star Wars, or indeed Carrie Fisher was reanimated in Star Wars, that's on our agreements, we collectively bargain the thing. The whole thing, it returns payments to their estates. That was part of the union consultation, the union negotiation. We dealt with it. This is not new. This is you know, something we have dealt with for a very, very long time. But if we're not empowered to do it, and this is the dystopia that worries me, it's not a dystopia, a technological one. But if you think about video games, where we only have one collective agreement in this country, the Americans are about to go on strike, that is where data scraping is really prevalent. That is where the manipulation of these technologies for massive capital gain. I mean, you know, the video games are now worth basically more than conventional cinema. But we are not operating in a unionised environment. That is the horror to me. Why are trade unions not free enough to force these people to bargain? Where are our sectoral agreements? Where's the government enforcing them? I mean, where's our rights of access? All those sorts of questions. That is the real dystopia. And the more we fixate on one particular type of technology, we lose track of the real kind of issues at heart, is what I'd say.
See, this is what I mean. Like, you said exactly what I would have liked to have heard from you in terms of that response. More unionizing, more organizing, and collective bargaining. Like, I wish I could see. I'm getting a message to say, like, we need to wrap up soon, but I wish I could, like, go into more detail for people who don't know about collective bargaining. And also how to, like, unionize your workplace and all of that. But do you know what's really useful about TWT and why you should donate? Is that we've spoken about collective bargaining. We've spoken about organizing in your workplace with Organize Now, was it? Yeah? Organize Now. There's been loads of this kind of talk at TWT. We've filmed a lot of it, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you donate so that we can keep bringing that content to you. But before I move on to the next bit, Paul, thank you so
Thank you for having me, comrades. Very kind.
I absolutely adore you, bruv. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of them.
Yeah,
Look at all
I get it now. I get it.
I'm not a story. Just get it. You
get it. I get it.
See, you've got another fan. We're out here. I'm saying.
Great. Those WhatsApps are going to keep on coming.
Oh,
very weird times of the night.
Hey, listen. Do you not like getting a message every morning saying "Good morning, beautiful"?
I mean, you're the only person that's ever done it, so beggars can't be choosers.
I'm saying. And occasionally I send you pictures of flowers and things. Enjoy it. Anyway, round of applause for Paul. Thank you so much. We love you, Paul.
Thank you so much, Paul. So speaking of the arts and creativity, the arts are such a key part of our organising and part of our activism. And it's really important that we're creative in thinking of the solutions to some of the problems and societal issues that we're facing. So it's been fab to see so many creative and artistic activities at TWT. So we're going to run a little VT about the Hate Zine workshop that took place.
Hi everybody, welcome to this workshop. It's going to be about zine making, constructing some stuff. So my name's Seth. I am part of a militant research group, basically looking at radical worker history and the documentation of worker history, based at the Mayday rooms in London. I bought some of the materials here from Mayday. Crowbar. If you're a squatter, this is pretty good. Pretty violent, fiery stuff. So it tells you how to like crack into a squat and then how to attack policemen with bricks. Happy, Carey, Healthing and Sharing, a book for young green vegans by Graham Burnett. This is pretty fucking amazing. The best cut of all, look at that Margaret Thatcher's head with a meat
So my role here today is just to show you how to make a zine.
Hopefully we'll go away and maybe make some stuff. So maybe if you've got like a campaign in mind, or maybe you just want to make a poster about how much you hate the fucking Tories or whatever.
Then fold it back out again.
Then if you make that, put your name on the back of it, we'll take it back to the Mayday room, scan it, send you the PDF, and you can go out in the fly post and stick it up.
So the Radical Zine Making Workshop has just finished here at TWT. Folk were learning how to make radical zines, about the history of radical zines. We've caught up with some of the attendees to find out what they learned and how it went. What was that session about then? Tell us a bit.
We did like zine making, so we looked at zines and had examples and then we made our own.
What kind of zines were they? What were they about?
Well, there was like Strike magazine, which is like a publication, and then I missed the beginning bit, so I'm not sure. But everyone was just doing their own zines with stuff they were inspired by.
What inspired you?
Well, I'm making a zine about Keith Starmer. I've basically got this Labour Party conference programme I got yesterday. I managed to blag that.
With his face on it?
Yeah, it's got all it is his face. It's like absolute Keith Starmer propaganda. I love it. So I'm making a zine about him trying to get a job.
Amazing. And what did you learn from that session then about zine making?
I learned how to fold up a piece of paper. You can make a zine with one piece of paper.
How do you make a zine with one piece of paper?
You fold it 4 times, you fold it in the middle, you open it up, fold it again, cut the middle, and then fold it another way, and it folds up into a little book.
So you've got a one bit of paper zine about Keir Starmer. That's amazing.
Well, it's not finished yet, but I'm going to go home and get it done.
Amazing. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thanks.
How did you guys find that session?
It was really enjoyable. It's a really nice way to start the conference. Fascinating input on radical zines and the history of them. I found really stimulating.
And what did you learn about zines and about zines' history?
Just that you can take messages out of anywhere and make it as creative and as engaging as possible with as few or as many stimuli as necessary. And it's also a great way to tap into your own creativity to be able to do so. So I'm very glad for this.
What did you guys make your zines about?
Well, I don't know. I suppose it was based on an image that I found, which is one doesn't like to get involved in politics. So it was about the questions that people might ask.
Amazing.
And then realising that probably they do need to make a difference to the world. So it's about challenging indifference, really.
And what about yourself? What was your zine about?
Instant gratification. Oh my God, even that was hard to say. It's just the fact that we need to be stimulated in all sorts of ways in the quickest, most efficient way possible. So I just wrote that word there because it's an attention grabber.
Amazing. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
Hi everybody, welcome to this workshop. It's going to be about zine making, constructing some stuff. So my name's Seth. I am part of a militant research group.
Beautiful. I think I know you love, everything digital, and that is your world. But I just think the history of that and just being able to physically make things, I feel like that is socialism in action, and I think a lot of the feminist movement started with stuff like that, and it just, that is really my go-to. I think it's just been fantastic. That VT really just showed everything and how wonderful creativity can be and how it can be a force for change and a force for good, and I just think it's been incredible to watch.
Ironically though, I did find it funny that, you're talking about making stuff for change, and that woman was like, I'm making one about Starmer.
Keith Starmer. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's a really good way. Also, it's kind of like therapy. It's a way to just express what you're feeling in a creative way, and I just think there's so much positive energy in that. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I think, some of the ways in which they were talking about creating literature or artwork that is able to spread messages and educate people on information, events, whatever it might be that's happening. We've got that going on right now. Look, not everyone has access to high-speed internet. Not everyone has access to communications in the way, especially across Britain. We have such a fragmented communication network that when you look back to these basics, it's absolutely fantastic. And I think another way that that's happening right now is the different types of movements against racism, against migration control, or the activities of Mish's mate Suella and his old mate Pretty. And I think that's what we're just going to hear a little bit about now, is really what actions were taken using those exact same skills that Hate Zine. Big up Hate Zine, big up Mayday Rooms. We got mad love for you. I'll make sure I'll link you guys in the comments later. But those same skills were being used in this next section. You're going to hear about working on supporting people who are trying to find refuge here in the UK.
So do you guys want to tell us a bit about the session you're running today?
Yeah, sure. We're part of Camp Abolition. We're a group of queer and trans abolitionists that are committed to dismantling systems of oppression through practical things of shared struggle, living with a world without borders and prisons. And today we have organised lots of different kind of activities.
And why is creativity, banner making so important as a medium of struggle?
Yeah, I guess it's not something that's like always, there's not always space made for it in our movements. And like, I think thinking about like accessibility, like how do we involve different people in our struggle? Like creativity is obviously a way to like engage people that might want to engage differently. And also like it's nourishing. And like, I think when we think about like the sustainability of our movements, that's really important too.
And it's just a great place to be around people who are like-minded and feel a sense of inspiration. And I think creativity is like a good way to just channel an outlet. Like we came to this event because we wanted to do something a bit more chill, and just like use our hands a bit. Like we've been traveling all day, so.
So, tell us a bit about the banner, if that's okay.
There's a floating prison run by the Bibby Stockholm Company that is housing migrants at the moment, and we're doing a demonstration on Monday to tell them to shut it down. Because, I mean, it's already had a whole host of problems anyway, and it's just not a humane way to treat people or to, look after people.
Yeah. And then what we're doing today is we've got the Shut Libby down sorted, and then we've got these polystyrene blocks, and people can write or draw messages of solidarity, and then we're printing them around the outside of the banner. I guess we're like continuing on a tradition of like shared struggle from like the queer community. So for example, like lesbians and gays support the miners, and kind of that's the history that we're looking at and what we want to continue. And I think something else that we're trying to do and like embody in this session is like organising through care and like creating spaces. And something that we're hoping to do in the future is actually organise like a physical camp. So that's why we're called Camp Abolition, and create a space. And also because we're gay and it's camp. But yeah, like creating a space for abolitionist organisers from across the UK, maybe even across the world, who knows, to come together and like, to have space to like strategize, but also just to like be in community with each other. This is like a bit of an experimental exercise. It's kind of like comes from like the pedagogy of the press, and what we're looking at is thinking about like how shared struggle is embodied, and so it's kind of, we've got 3 questions in there exploring our collective body territory, which is the idea that like these systems of oppression that like harm us all, how do they harm our kind of collective body? So thinking beyond the individual and how we're all connected in that. So it's meant to be like just a bit of like an open space to have conversations.
Hope is a discipline, and I think this is what we're saying, is when we create and we make things together, when we sit around the table for food, or whether it is making something, we're untapping a part of our imagination where we can believe in a world without borders, where we can imagine a world and create a world without borders as well. And that's
also
really
not
important.
being afraid to experiment.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're always resisting against, which is really important, but also being like, we're trying to create this like hopeful and good life, and this is what we're imagining. And that is one which is creative and full of joy.
Thanks very much, guys. That's great.
A world without borders. Can we just take a moment to appreciate what a world without borders would look like? Like, oh my gosh, free Palestine. Anyway, so that's an important point, really. But I think the conversation that was going on there, it's talking about the ways in which we can get involved in different activities, the ways in which we can take part and not have to, in a capitalist world, a lot of the time, everything is orientated around making money. And I think as socialists who stand on any type of privilege, it is our responsibility to be able to make things accessible for other people. And if that means making banners so that people can protest, then we do that. If it means making protest accessible for other people, then we do that. And that's exactly what's going on with Camp Abolition. And, to take inspiration as well from set up in 2018 was the Women's Banner Group up in Durham. Absolutely fantastic work, working with the miners. And they've got a strong history of those people who are involved actually showing solidarity, making protest accessible, making the movement for workers' rights accessible to also not just because of people's class, but because of their gender and the way they're treated in society, giving them an opportunity to be a part of a movement and an action. And I think it's beautiful the way here in Britain, like so often we see this happen. The media don't pick up on this stuff. You know, they'll, I don't know, you see what they put in the media, but they're not talking about the actual kind acts of solidarity, kind acts of community that are going on. And that's why TWT exists, so that we can not only educate people and learn people about these things, but also so that we can actually make sure that other people have opportunities to access these things. And that's why you should donate. And I believe one of my colleagues upstairs is going to put the thing on the screen right now. There you go. See, it's working now. But yeah, and enter the address, donate, so that we can keep doing this. We can keep supporting groups like this. And also we can put an end, because by supporting these things as a festival where so many people attend, we can try and put a stop to things like Bibi Stockholm, these horrible, like, I don't know, they call them barges, they call them boats. They're not even that. Like, floating prisons. Like, but the thing is, right, so correct me if I'm wrong here, like, I feel like they're worse. I know I've not been in one, but they're worse than a prison.
It's just cruel, and it's horrible, and it's evil, and it's kind of, it ties into that whole notion of, you know, asylum seekers and refugees being this other dehumanised person. And they're so dehumanised that they don't even have the right to live on land. So we're going to put them on water, floating as far, you know, as far away from us as possible. And there is just this inherent cruelty and this real vindictiveness to wanting to put people there. And I feel like we know it's purely to win political points, and that's what makes it even worse. It's just about people feeling better, and, you know, not our people, but, you know, those people who support Cruella and her, you know, regime or Suella. But it's just about those voters feeling like they've got one up on people who've been through unimaginable turmoil and escaping some of the worst, you know, scenes that we've seen in modern times, and yet they get here, supposedly this, you know, sixth wealthiest nation that's supposed to, aren't we so diabetic? Aren't we the best place to live, according to Kemi? If you're a black person or if you're a person of colour, the best place to live if you're a person of colour, but we're going to put you on a horrible rusty ship and keep you all the way over there imprisoned in this floating fortress. It's disgraceful.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I think for so long, like, I think we're able to say what we think on this show, you know what I mean? And Nigel Farage, without running, is influencing massively, or did 4 years ago, 5 years ago, start to influence the Conservative Party that we see now. And I'm pretty sure if you go back on a lot of our people like ourselves, like our social medias and stuff, TWT and everything, you'll see that we were predicting this. We were saying, like, it's about to happen, where Nigel Farage might as well be running the Conservative Party. Or if you want to go even further back, you know, what was his name, that guy, Griffith? Nick Griffin. Yeah, that's it. He stood for MEP in Liverpool. I can't remember, he had it for a short while. I know it was around the time when I moved here, and he was also causing problems in Dagenham, East London and that. And back then, even then, we were saying, like, look, if we allow these people to do things, then it's just going to become mainstream, because that's what the Conservatives want. And I think I said earlier, they are a racist endeavour. So when they say, oh, we don't agree with these extreme views, but 5 years later, they're putting those views into policy, I think it's proof in the pudding that you should listen to what people are saying when they say it's going to get a worse place. And now, it's not a prison, it's a... because they're not criminals, but they're being put in a prison. Like, you know what I mean? Exactly. But anyway, when these barges are being made and being used for people who are simply trying to seek a better life because of the destruction that capitalism has caused from the Western world in their communities, homes and societies, we need to really think about that. And right now, we need a massive change. And we don't feel like that's being offered a lot of the time. So as socialists, we've got to think about what we can do to influence that change, what power we have, how we can build that power. And that's a big part of what the World Transformed is looking at not to be the movement or the organization that's creating it, but to be a part of everyone's journey, everyone's opportunity to change the world. And I suppose our next opportunity now, you know, we've had a very, very hard, you said before, Chantal and Laura, we've had a hard last few years. The 20s have been real hard. 2019, you lot know, like, December was a bit rough.
What are we going to call them? Maybe the tragic 20s. What are they going to be?
Hey, put your recommendations in the comments. But I think next year there is an opportunity. I know that it isn't going to be the change that we all might want, but there is an opportunity to start to influence change, and that is going to be at the next general election, GE 2024, which has been a big part of our program this year. And here's a little bit about the conversations that have been had with some of the people that have been having those conversations.
Welcome, everybody. Who's excited to be here? We are going to be talking all things general election 2024, what we all do next year, how we work and how our organising and activism leads up to that election are really important questions going forward. And hopefully these speakers are going to help us think that through.
So I'll talk a little bit, as Beth said, about what tools we might have to impact on the election. Also thinking about what comes after the election, because obviously the election probably will see the end of a Tory government. It opens up new political challenges and opportunities with a Labour government, so we want to think about not just the election but what comes after. Labour poses a lot of challenges now and in government. Clearly they've adopted a strategy of kind of embracing the status quo, social conservatism, financial orthodoxy. How do you build a base or a block of voters that identify with a poor set of progressive issues and are willing to vote on those issues and not just vote out of loyalty to Labour?
Thank you so much, Andrew. Lots to think about. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to pass on to our next speaker, who is Fatima, who is the co-executive director of Green New Deal Rising.
I am a climate activist. I run an organization I helped co-found 4 years ago called Green New Deal Rising. This is the most important election of our lifetimes. We are halfway through a decade that we have to radically transform how our economies work. Science has set that out. You know, 2030 is actually now only 6 years away. And if by 2030 we have not transformed our economies and our communities, you know, we only have to look at what's happened this summer to imagine what 2030 might even look like. We need to build deep relationships with communities and be canvassing throughout the year. That's how we sort of bypass the media. That's how we sort of get our messages directly to households.
Our next speaker is James, who is the communications director at Progressive International and was formerly the director of strategic comms to Jeremy Corbyn.
I come to kind of the opposite conclusion, which is that there's nothing that we can do to directly influence the next election, and we shouldn't try. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do anything at all. In fact, it's absolutely vital that we do really rather a lot to build as much power as we can possibly have for the day after the election. So, what do? If the election is basically a bit of a red herring for us, but the world is getting worse, things need to be done, what can we do? And how can we build power for afterwards? Because we need to build a powerful left pole of opposition to the next government, linking up the tenants' union, the trade union branch, the local Just Stop Oil group or Extinction Rebellion group, the Black Lives Matter group, so that we are coordinating actions now in the here and now before the election, not about the election, but about the real struggle that people are facing.
Definitely not least is
ensure that there are groups like Palestine Solidarity Campaign, the trade unions and other groups that are advocating inside the party for the voices of people who are oppressed all over the world. And if we can get a tiny, and I mean a tiny, fraction of what we want internationally coming out of a Labour Party government, I believe that is success.
And I wonder to what extent the panellists think it would be a good idea if we could support the Labour Party for some of the things they do and oppose them for some of the things they do.
You know, there's no excuse not to get out and do stuff. I think ultimately all of this comes down to really accepting that the left we built from 2015 to now, or 2015 to 2019, has ended. That chapter has closed. And the task for all of us together is to collectively figure out what this new left we build looks like. And I think with everybody's kind of potential in this room, in our communities, we've got good resources to do that. It's just a question of getting out there and doing the work.
Okay. So I am feeling a bit teary-eyed because we're coming towards the end of our show, but also because it's also the end of the 4 days of TWT, and it's really hard to describe what TWT is unless you've been to it, but I am going to bring you to and to try and describe and kind of capture not only the past 4 days, but the festival as a whole. Because I always remember my first TWT, which was 3 years ago in Brighton, and it was at a time when, you know, I was feeling quite hopeless about, you know, the political landscape. And then I came to TWT and I was like, actually, there's loads of socialists here who are just as concerned about some of the issues that we face, be it migration, the climate emergency, social justice or democracy. And they're looking at socialism in relation to addressing a lot of those issues. So I want to ask you both, and starting with Laura, how would you like define and capture TWT to someone who didn't really know what it was about?
So for me, I feel like I can define it really well in 2 words, and those words would be Socialist Christmas, which is kind of what I use to describe the Durham Miners Gala as well, which if anybody hasn't been, please do.
You have 2 Christmases because you live in the northeast.
Yeah, I do. Second Saturday in July every year, Durham Miners Gala. It is a massive socialist trade union, miners, remembrance, gathering, celebration. And for me, that was the day of the year that I went and felt like I was surrounded by comrades, that everybody could have honest, open discussions and debate and be nice to each other, and we could disagree, and that was fine, and discuss ideas, and it was like revolutionary. And then I found the world transformed. And it just blew me away, especially at a time where I didn't really feel like there were many of us. Like I was looking for socialists. I didn't know where to find them. And then I came here for the first time about 4 years ago, maybe. And it just kind of opened up a whole new world. And then I realised that world is actually quite big, and there are a lot of us, and it's coming to places like this and going to the amazing panel discussions and getting involved and doing the creativity, all that stuff, that just really just emphasises how much we can do and how much we can achieve when we all come together, and building those networks and those little communities. I just find really positive and really hopeful, and it just makes you feel like you're not alone. And I know at the minute, especially, these 4 days for me have been just so necessary, because I know a lot of people do feel politically homeless, and you know, the World Transformed isn't just for people who are here for Labour Party conference. It's for people who want to make a change and want to find people like them and want to talk to people who feel the same, who feel just as desperate. And it kind of brings you out of that desperation. And they're just lovely people, and the parties here are incredible, and the dancing's incredible, and you will have sore legs, and yeah, it's just wonderful.
It is, it's amazing. Dan, I was wondering, because I get a bit like, you know, I think TWT, like you say, Laura, kind of sustains me for the rest of the year, you know, with all the stuff that comes at us. I'm like, don't worry, there's 4 days when I can just get together with lefties and imagine this amazing world and how we're going to get there. But I want to talk about TWT as a community space for learning, because it's really accessible in terms of everyone, you know, everyone's welcome, but it happens in spaces that you might not typically associate with education and learning. So I want you to talk us through that and kind of why it's unique in relation to a space of learning for communities.
I think the reason it makes it so unique is because we practice all of our politics in what we do. So, you know, when you're in the workplace, right, and your work go, we are accessible. Yeah. And they send a video around to everyone, and it's like some dude talking about being accessible. It's more than just opening a door for someone. You know what I mean? Like, and you have these like catchphrases in the workplaces and all that, but it never actually means anything. I suppose it's a bit like the police have Black Lives Matter on the side of their vans, but they still beating up black people. You know what I mean? That's what workplaces do. They say, we care about gay people. And then they're like, you know, just accepting money from companies that pay into homophobic campaigns. You know what I mean? They're like, but unless it brings us money. And I put
all American.
Yeah, that's what I was just, you read my mind. I was about to say, but like it comes from this kind of corporate American vibe of like, you know what I mean? You're spot on. but that's the difference to here is like we say we care about making things accessible. So at TWT, we spend time speaking to groups like DPAC. We spend time talking to groups who face racial discrimination. We speak to feminist groups. We try and speak to as many people as we can. And we have a welfare team. Like, we have a whole welfare every year for a long time now. We've had a team that are there just to make sure that people are okay. And when we talk about checking people are okay, we kind of stop things and we go, Laura, everything all right, yeah?
I'm good.
How you feeling? Your
I'm
head?
feeling good,
Everything?
thank you.
Do you need a break? And that's exactly what we do. You know, we've got loads of WhatsApp groups going on. There's loads of messages across our volunteer group. There's all kinds going on constantly. But we take the time to remember our politics. And it's not policies, they're politics. It's what's ingrained in us. And we ingrain in us a culture of taking care of people. We ingrain a culture in us of trying to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to take part in what we're doing. And we're not saying that we get it right every time. We get it wrong. Like, it's absolutely fine to get it wrong. Because if you've got it wrong, it's an opportunity to do it better next time. And if you don't do it better next time, so long as you're honest about it, and you keep trying to make it better, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think that is why so many people do feel, like you said, I think Laura, you said before, everyone's so lovely. Chantel, you said you always enjoy being around everyone. And that's what we want people to do. We want them to enjoy it. We don't want them to enjoy it because we've got an expensive photo booth that you have to queue up for, or we've got these drinks that you can put on your Instagram, but you've got to queue up half hour and pay half your wages, your week's wages on. We make it exciting because you want to be around the people that are here, and it's actually an environment that cares about people. And I think a lot of that as well is that our politics are feminist. I think a lot of it as well that our politics are anti-racist, and our politics are based around justice. And when you put those politics into what you do, and I've learned that, I'm still learning that. I do it in my life because of TWT, because of how much I've got involved. That makes people want to come back and be involved in it. Unless they're Tory bastards and they can do what they want.
It's before the 9 p.m. Oh, no, we're after the 9 p.m. curfew. Go on, carry on with the switch.
We're on the internet.
We're on the internet, it's fine. There are no rules on the internet, just trolls.
Yeah, that's my point, though, is that, you know, unless you are a horrible person, there's no reason you can't not like what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're a good person, then, I can respect someone who disagrees with me politically, but you can't disrespect what we're doing in terms of just trying to make politics accessible. And politics, if I may, sorry, I know I've talked for a hot moment, but...
Where's the hole?
I think making political education isn't just about talking about the economy or whatever's going on in the news, right? The news, the main media organisers, they set the narrative. But here, for example, on camera number 2, our friend Andrea here, she had never operated a camera before last year. Now, how many sessions has she filmed? Live streaming, massive TV studio. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I can't see who's on the other camera, so I don't know. But I know Andrea's there.
We're proud of you.
But and it's the same across the board. A lot of the people who are involved in the things we're doing, they might not have done those things before, and they've learned skills to be able to give them the opportunity not only to earn more money, maybe, in this capitalist world, but then share those skills with other people. And if you've got skills and you share skills with other people, and it's the whole thing. The more we can share, the more people can learn, and the greater this world can be. And I think all of what I've just said kind of encapsulates the answer to your question.
Amazing. Thank you, Dan. And one last question, and I'm going to ask Laura. So a lot of people say that young people are not politically engaged, but quite often I do think that they're talking about party politics. Now, we do have a lot of young people who come to TWT. How do you feel that kind of counters that narrative that says that young people aren't politically engaged because, polling data?
I mean, I think it's really difficult to quantify because young people are politically aware. They might not be necessarily going out to the voting booths, but they are aware. And I think, we spoke to Meg earlier, and they were very clear on how many young people they've got involved. And it is absolutely fantastic. I mean, not least because you've got to have energy to go to as many rallies as they went to. But yeah, I just think that it's difficult to be engaged in party politics because there are so many rules and there are so many guidelines that you have to follow, and it is designed to be off-putting. There are plenty of adults I know who aren't keen on it because it's not a welcoming environment at all. But the community activism and getting active in your area, or finding something that really you're passionate about and that you care about, and getting involved with like-minded people, that lends itself to younger people because they are active and they do care and they want to see change, and they're probably the ones who can do it, to be honest with you. We need to move away from just the political system of ticking boxes of going, so it's somebody else's problem now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something me and Dan always talk about. It's politics with a big P and politics with a small p. And if you're only looking at voting data and who's a member of a certain political party, then you might not consider that young people are politically engaged. But when you look at campaigns like Green New Deal Rising, when you look at people attending loads of the discussions that we've been having at TWT, then you would counter that argument very, very easily. So thank you so much. I am feeling really warm and fuzzy right now. But I know that we've got somebody in the audience who's going to lift the vibes even more. Rob, would you like to come and join us? Woo! Welcome, Rob. Welcome, Rob. Welcome, Rob. Now, Rob.
You've been very busy.
Lad, I'm knackered. I'm absolutely knackered. Yeah, we've had a busy few days.
What have you been up to? Go on. You on to you.
I've been running the tech down at the, not here, everywhere but here. Maybe that's why it's going so well here. But I've been doing it down at the Blackie and all the churches we've been using. So I'm knackered, but I've had a good laugh. And the team I had was amazing. And it's nice to see all my mates.
Oh, amazing, Rob. We absolutely appreciate you for everything you've done and all the ways that you volunteered for TWT on the final day. What are you doing on the couch? What are you going to do?
Well, I had my arm twisted to come and sing a song.
No, you wanted to. You wanted to.
No, I did. Obviously, I did want to. I did want to, but my arm had to be twisted
slightly.
slightly.
Did you say you were in charge of tech? Was any of that?
Yeah. I'm behind the scenes though. I'm rarely on stage talent. So.
Okay. And what are you going to do for us?
I thought I'd sing a song that I really love and I've never sung out to people before. And I was thinking, when Ribs asked me what do I like to give a song, I thought, well, what can I do? And I heard Joe Hickson, who's a really good American folk singer and trade unionist from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, lived forever. He set this to music in the 50s, and it was Joe Hill, who many people might know, who was accused of murder on kind of spurious claims, and he was executed. This is in 1915, a big member of the IWW, who we've got there, the Wildcats are back. And he wrote loads of amazing poems and amazing songs and loads of quotes and things, and he, the day before he was put to death, he wrote his kind of last will, and this was set to music, and I thought I'd give it a go because it's quite poignant and a bit sad, but in a kind of there's a kind of hopefulness to it, and I think that's where I am after 4 days of running around with cables. Can't do anything happy clappy, but I'll give this one a go.
The floor is yours.
It's called Joe Hill's Last Will. So I just put that there. That might pick it up. I've got an obnoxiously loud voice, so maybe that should be fine. Put the lyrics up just in case, because my brain is turned to porridge. Oh, that's good. You've got everything
We've
here,
got a little
haven't you?
stand to help you out. We were ready for this.
It's not working here now.
I know. It's good. Next year. My will is easy to decide, for I have nothing to divide. My kin won't need to weep and moan. Moss doesn't cling to a rolling stone. if I could choose, then would to ashes it reduce, and let the merry winds blow my dust to where some flowers grow. Perhaps some fading flower then might soon rise up and bloom again. This is my last and final will. Good luck to all of you, Joe Hill. Good luck to all of you, Joe Hill. Thank you.
Wow. That was amazing. That was so beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Amazing.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Rob, I've known you for such a long time, and I've never heard you sing, bro.
Because we just play poker and get off our face.
And on that note, that's not what we did last time you was round, but listen, Rob, that was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it. You threw me off at the end there, but I still love you, bro. I think Rob's a perfect example of someone who wasn't involved in like any type of movement, politics or anything, just kind of cared about the world really. And he signed up to this thing that he saw. He was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. It's in my city. And he came along, and then at the end of it, like I think it was one drunken night, you were like, oh yeah, I'd love to do more of this. And I think myself and a friend were sitting on a wall just like, yeah, we'd love to have you more involved more. Just text us. And we became friends. I've known you for a while. Obviously, we live in Merseyside.
People's Republic of Sefton.
The People's Republic of Sefton. We you know, and that's another thing about TWT is that you do get so many people who become friends for life or just friends for festivals. There's people that you see every year at the festival, and it is more than the politics that you believe in. It's the community that you create. It's the worlds that you wanna build and transform. And I think on that point, like looking over the last 4 days, some of the points we've covered today, we talk about Keir Starmer and his Labour Party. We talk about Cruella and her mates in the crony Tories, and like the irrelevance of Rishi Sunak, but the actual relevance of what his policies are doing, and how do we counter that? The way we counter that is by building power, building communities, and actually learning people about how we can make a difference. And if you didn't feel even the ounce of inspired off of our boy Robbie, I don't really know what's going to work. But after at least this episode and the little videos that have been created, big up Simon, by the way, and all of our video team who have been involved, our sound teams, our tech teams, I really appreciate it. And I don't know what you're thinking if you don't think about donating right now. Understand if you can't. I get it. I've been there. Sometimes I can't donate. That's fine. Just go onto Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. What else are there? So, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch,
Bebo.
YouTube. No, we're not on Bebo.
No.
We're on Threads. But go onto all of the above. Hit the like and share. If you can't donate, hit like, share, retweet, re-X. I don't know. You do? Can you re-X? No. You don't want to re-X. We ain't re-Xing. Nah, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, repost everything, like everything, you know, support the thing. But if you've got a couple of quids, you're able to. Or maybe right now you should text your mum or dad and say, listen, send me a $5 in it, and then donate that to us. You get me? Just get the peas. And it makes a difference. Every little donation. This year, myself working on the comms team, I've been able to see the difference that makes. And I just want to say, to wrap up thing, I don't want to say, he's
He's
waving
like
at
hanging
me.
on for dear life. I'm not going anywhere.
He's waving at me, he's pointing at his watch, and I just want to say...
Let's have a sit-in.
I want to say, suck it. No, I'm not going to say it. But listen, right, look, so like back in January, we have a team of people in Liverpool in a WhatsApp group that I forced to turn up in cold meeting rooms to talk about how we're going to leaflet in the summer. And they're looking at me like, damn, what the f are you talking about?
Don't do a Scouse accent, you just ruined
yeah,
it.
you know what it
No,
is,
we went
you
the
know what it
whole
is.
show,
No, you
you're
know
not
what it
doing
is,
that.
You know what it is. All right, so can you say, Dan, what are you talking about?
Dan, what are you talking about?
That's what they say. And I'm like, no, we're going to build this massive festival. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be Rob Howart's going to be doing a cappella singing. We're going to have Mick Lynch sitting there talking about how much he hates the arse end of nowhere on Politics Joe podcast. You know what I mean? If you watch the podcast, you'll see I'm not chatting breeze. But what I'm saying is we bring together so many different elements of the left, the movement, and it's thanks to everyday people. It's thanks to every volunteer. Your AJs and Mikes in the kitchen. Your Darryls and Craigs in the TV studio. Your Andreas on the camera. Your Ribs in the producer studio. Your Lucy in the training. Your Ella in the box office and just general help her out. Your Michaels on the box office. All these different people. There's so many. I'm trying to think of different people's names I can remember off the top of my head.
Luna on the door.
Luna on the door.
Yes, Christine on the door.
Christine. There's so many people. And I'm saying every single person has their own background that they come from. But every single one of us, like, what was the number? Hundreds of volunteers, thousands of people who have come here this weekend, and hundreds of speakers and all the different venues. We have one aim, and that aim is to bring about socialism. Some of us, it might be more communism, but we'll talk about that later, yeah? That's the after sessions. But we all have an aim for socialism. And without every single person in this room, and it's been a part of the last 4 days, we won't be able to get closer to that socialist future that we believe in. So thank you, every single person who's been involved. Ribs is waving at me, so at this point, all I need to ask is that you guys donate. Thank you, Chantel. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, all of the team inside the place.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Big up the team. theworldtransformed.org. Check us out. We've got loads going on, all of our social media. But most importantly, if you can, donate to the team. This is it. The World TWT 2023.
You have to let it go down.
TV. Let's go.
Let's
go.
It used to be really lonely being on the left.
And I've seen this movement change for the better. To one where I've got a shared language with people, I can find people with shared experiences.
TWT is such a special place where people across the left can come together, can debate and discuss ideas.
It's an inspiration and it's a hope. Thousands of people from different communities.
We are an interconnected world, connected because of our economic, political and social systems. This is an opportunity and a space for us to build a movement of movements.
That's the message. We've all got each other's back. We only achieve political change by doing things together.
I just think the buzz of it is fantastic.
And you know what? It doesn't end there.
We've got a world to save and a world to win.